the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. Nothing that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never stray from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right, everyone. It is Feel Good Friday, December 2nd. The final chapter of 2022, the world's comeback story, begins today. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast back here with you, making the most of it. I'm Seth Woolcock reporting for duty, joined by a man joining us from a Colorado basement, a lover of good music, better whiskey, but mediocre tight ends. That's Nate Polvo, guys. Give it up for Nate. Nate, how are you doing as we hit 12-22, the quadruple number twos for you today? How's that hitting for you?
Well, I have to put up Christmas lights after this, so it's good because that means the weather's nice.
There we go.
It's just been, dude, it was like 17 degrees as a high the other day, so hitting 40s is, and we're here to talk football. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Nate's rocking his TJ Watt jersey. Those of you on the listening stream that can't see him. So we appreciate you being here today, Nate. We have an absolutely loaded show. Do you want to tell the fine people out there what they can expect today?
So coming up in just a few minutes to do some start-sit questions, we have friend of the show, phenomenal actor, the one and only Michael Stoyanov with us today. And then for our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week, another good friend of the show, the one, the only, the Herms.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll start it out with some start sits and some Thursday night football recap with Mike. And then later on the show, Herms will join us for some sleeper action. I want to welcome in the In Between Media family. Looks like we already have some returning members in the chat. Looks like we got Trash Sandwiches. Says, happy Feel Good Friday. We appreciate UTS joining us. Lucius back in here. Afternoon, guys, he says. And we have John Helmkamp joining us today as well, saying just one, baby. Let's go. We appreciate you joining us today, John. Guys, let's go ahead and welcome in our big guest of the day. He is best known for his Emmy-nominated performance. Well, I guess he's not Emmy-nominated performance, but the show was Emmy-nominated for the sitcom Blossom, also known for The Dark Knight, Beverly Hills 90210, and Billions. Guys, get up for the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Stoyanov.
Thank you so much. That was a funny slip of the tongue. It's like he was Oscar nominated. Oh, no, sorry. He was in a movie with Oscar nominated Adrian Brody one time. But yes, thank you. It's great to be here, and it's exciting. Coming down to the stretch, the home stretch, December football. It's going to be great.
Absolutely, man. You're back in New York as well, Mike, hanging on the East Coast with us this time?
It's true. You can tell by the Mondrian behind me, not real. And the tree behind me, also not real. So I'm back in my apartment in Harlem, and yeah, we're having a good time.
There we go, man. There we go.
And like Nate, it's in the 40s here, so it's not a brutal. Like it was like 77 degrees when I left LA. So like,
okay,
we're not. you mountain men. You're like Jesus, 77.
Sounds glorious, man. I'd be in shorts.
We haven't seen the sun in 5 days over here, you know.
People rag on LA a lot. But like when you go out, you know, in shorts and a t-shirt on, you know, December 8th, you're like, you know what? This ain't half bad. There's
yeah, right.
Pros and cons.
Absolutely, man. How are the vibes feeling on this Friday? Mike, I know you've had some trouble here in the fantasy football landscape. You're a big Dave Njoku guy. He might not be going this week. Your Chris Olave, he's kind of come back down to earth a little bit. Despite all that, how are you feeling today, my friend?
I mean, good, some bad. I've been, as I said, by the way, Scott Fishbowl, this is the Chicago version. I was actually in Gotham City division, but I'm a Chicago boy, so I bought that tee too. Much love to Scott Fish and the SFB 12. I am out. I had 12 wins, and I didn't, as opposed to the requisite 13. That stung. And then I was about 20 points off by qualifying via points. So I've got one less team to think about. I do have a 10-2 team I'm pretty excited about. I had a 9-3 team like lined up. I was in control in this other division, 14 teamer. So I was pretty excited to go 9-3. And we didn't get to see the overtime, even though they said they'd throw it to CBS, the Raiders game. And I'm like cruising. And then I look down and I'm like, Josh Jacobs has 40 more points literally than he had a minute ago. What the hell? And then I realized that what he's done and that I have in fact lost that game, and I'm going to be 8-4. But then a couple other ones that are throwaways. But in regard to specifics, I'm holding fast, holding steady, and Njoku's an issue, and I've got some running back issues. I don't know that I can go with Najee. Like, am I really going to put Zonovan Knight in ahead of Najee Harris?
Right.
But it's like, is that crazy or is it not? I mean, you can't really, be all that jazzed about freaking Najee this week. Like, it just doesn't look good. But yeah, we're doing all right. How about you guys?
Vibes are high for me, man. I mean, the teams haven't been so good this year, but we're putting that aside. Really, I think our biggest focus here is just on this content, on growing this family. So all things are good here for me. Nate, how are you doing today, man? You're doing good?
I'm doing great, man. And I'm happy to report this is the best start I've ever had in my home league this season.
Go,
so I'm actually doing really well in all of my really difficult leagues. I just kind of dipped my toes into Debbie and Campus to Canton this season, and I'm crushing in both of those leagues. So, of course, my home IDP league, I'm last place, but we'll not talk about that.
You can't win them all, man. We say that a lot here on the IBT podcast. Guys, I'm seeing some awesome questions coming in here from Eric and Yazar, and good afternoon from our guy Albert as well. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to quickly talk about this Thursday night football recap. Hang around, though, because right on the other side, we will get to your start and sit questions. If you have any trade questions as well, any other questions, we will get to those. Guys, it was a fun one last night, honestly. Back and forth early on. Ultimately, Buffalo, they got the best of the Patriots in Foxborough. Final score 24-10 in the favor of the Bills. It kind of played out like a lot of these games have this year. Who's better on third down? Who's better on fourth down? That was Buffalo, 9 for 15 on third down compared to New England, 3 for 12. And Buffalo, they just keep staying on the field, man. 72 plays run compared to New England's 51. So, Mike, what were your big takeaways here from the Bills? Because obviously, I think Diggs, he continues to be automatic. Gabe Davis, he's a question mark. And now we have a little bit of a two-headed backfield that we predicted here might unfold in Buffalo. How are you feeling about him?
Honestly, full disclosure, I didn't have anyone going, and I was playing against Allen and Diggs and Singletary. So, I usually don't watch in situations like that because I believe, the physics thing. It's like observing it actually will change the outcome for the worse for me. But I did watch highlights, and I mean, they're just phenomenal. That play that Allen made running to the sideline and then somehow finding Davis back towards the middle of the field, that's just crazy. He's one of those guys who he'll make a play and be like, no one else can do that. And it's like there's 2 or 3 of those guys, those no one else can do it guys, and he's definitely one of them. I don't know what the running back controversy you think is Singletary and Hines or who is that? The kid who caught the thing on the outside. He's not even. He plays defense. What's he doing? Or you mean Cook?
Yes, James Cook. Yeah, he kind of busted out on the scene last night, 14 for 64, and then added 6 receptions for 41 yards on 6 targets. We had kind of seen him being used a couple weeks ago. I highlighted him last week as an in the scope candidate. However, he wasn't used on Thanksgiving very much at all, but he still saw 5 targets. So now there's this whole issue. Is Singletary really the guy, or is Cook coming for his job?
I think he definitely is. I think it's like he's clearly, the more talented guy. And I bet going forward, it'll come down to if his pass pro is as good as Singletary's, he's going to be in there in the clutch and we need our best talented guy there. I think he'll probably get more run in the playoffs potentially than Singletary.
If they can get a two-headed monster going in that backfield, they haven't had that the last few the postseason. So I think they could really do some damage here. Nate, how do you feel about Gabe Davis? 7 targets, only 2 receptions for him and 15 yards. He did catch a touchdown, kind of saved fantasy managers a little bit, but 4 of his last 6 performances here, Nate, in the single digits. Jets, Miami, Chicago, and Cincinnati up for him next. You don't like the matchup against the Jets. You don't like it against Cincy. Miami and Chicago can be exploited, but how are you feeling about Gabe Davis? It's been a little trepidatious lately.
This is Gabe Davis. This is what he has been. This is what he's been every season. He's such a boom bust, and it's not even like a wave where it's an up down week where you can predict it. I mean, he's a risk play every week, but he does have touchdown potential pretty much every game. We saw it this week. You can't not play him most weeks. I think you can bench him against the Jets because that's a terrible matchup. But you almost have to play him for that boom at this point in the season, especially because we see him go off late in seasons too.
Gabe Davis is either going to win people fantasy championships or lose them. Like that's really how I kind of feel it coming down to Gabe Davis here. We got Trash in the chat saying it's time to cook, baby.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've been waiting, man. We were really hyped up on him coming out of Georgia, so I'm excited to see this. On the Patriots side of the ball, as Mike alluded to, it was cool to see Marcus Jones get used. He's kind of been their special teams ace, as well as they're really good on defense this season as well. He got a touchdown, 2 receptions for him, and a long score. Ramondre, kind of a disappointing night for him a little bit. Still 12.8 PPR points. The 6 for 24 on the ground saved him. But I think Jacoby Myers is the one that we're left questioning. What is Myers moving forward here, Mike? He was hurt versus Minnesota. Hasn't scored double digits since week 8. Arizona, Las Vegas, Cincy, and Miami for him. So kind of a nice schedule shaping up for him. But can you trust him in these okay matchups the rest of the way, Mike?
I don't love him. And it's too inconsistent, and it's too Bill Belichick. And again, also in regard to Stevenson, he's just too wildly unpredictable in terms of what he's going to do week in and week out, where the usage is going to come. If I'm in the playoffs, and I'm looking down your lineup, my opponent's lineup, and I see Jacoby Myers, I am confident that when you slide over to my corresponding guy, I have the superior guy. So I'm going to be pleased to see him in my opponent's lineup. I just can't. Again, Mac Jones, I think, is suspect in terms of his week in and week out ability.
Certainly.
So I just can't get excited. I think it looks Ramondre could be the most disappointing guy labeled as potential league winner of the year this year if he just that offense goes cold like it can against the better teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a question mark moving forward. Nate, you've always loved Mac Jones, but he does go 22 for 36, 195 yards and a touchdown after a 380-yard performance on Thanksgiving. So it's really kind of tough to trust him right now. Are you, outside of Ramondre, investing in any of this Patriots offense down the stretch for your fantasy playoffs?
You really can't, because Mac has been so inconsistent. The only thing that's been consistent in this offense is quite literally Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And John points out here, Jacoby is good, as QB is not.
Right.
That is true.
And I don't want to write off Mac Jones yet, and I don't think we should, because, I mean, guys, he's got Joe Judge and Matt Patricia calling him plays right now.
Yeah.
Like there are some question marks in New England. Maybe they get solved next year, but I think rest of the way, it's safe to say we're avoiding this offense outside of Stevenson. Let's go ahead and jump forward, though, into the show, into matchup management here, guys. And before we do, I want to thank everyone for tuning in one more time. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, come back and hang out with us again. Now let's jump right into matchup management.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right. Who's it going to be? We're going to tell you that today. First question of the day came in from Eric. Pittman or Hollywood Brown, rest of season, full PPR. Pittman has been really solid since Matt Ryan came back, guys. Would you take that steady production, or would you try to hit the boom here with Hollywood Brown? Mike, starting with you, my friend.
This is a pretty tough one. I feel like I would look at the matchups basically on this one, and whoever has the superior sort of matchup, it seems like the guy to go with. I can't. Matt Ryan is just so shaky, but obviously a huge improvement over Ellinger. But Brown, I just feel like there's a lot of mouths to feed there, and I'm not sure. I mean, they're starting to fade. I don't know, and I just think that Hopkins is the man there. I would say if push came to shove, not knowing the matchup specifics, I would go with Pittman.
Okay. Next 3 matchups here for the Cardinals are the Broncos, Buccaneers, and Falcons. So not great matchups, but not matchups I'm necessarily running away from like I was earlier this season. Nate, how do you feel about this?
In a vacuum, I say Pittman. I have a lot of concerns about what's going on in Arizona in general with Cliff Kingsbury, with Kyler Murray, and the Patrick Peterson thing. Like, it's just kind of a mess there. But from a matchup standpoint, if Marquise Brown is involved in the offense, his matchups are just so much better rest of season than Pittman's. But that hinges on him being
that at all, though.
Really,
what matchup are you liking on that?
Nope. I like Pittman's matchups better. I had them reversed in my brain. So
I was about to say, I was like, man, I'm looking at Pittman's and Pittman's.
No, I had them reversed in my brain.
Vikings, Chargers, and Giants for Pittman.
Yes, for the fantasy playoffs. The problem is the bye week in there in week 14.
Right.
So if you are like fighting to get into the playoffs, you probably need to play Marquise Brown, ride with Brown. But
I'd rather pick someone up like than honestly almost like play Brown at this point. Like Brown's just risky coming.
Yeah,
back.
That's
like,
fair. That's fair.
I just don't know. Like, I mean, we call it the Call of Duty drop off for a reason. Like when this time of year hits, whether it's Call of Duty, whether it's Kyler Murray just getting beaten down, he is not good for fantasy managers. 2 years ago was a 10-point differential. Last year's a 3-point differential, but there's still a difference in his play. We've already seen him banged up. So I would just ride with Pittman, man. Yeah. Like, I don't think you're going to get a huge boom from him, but I don't think he's going to bust like Hollywood Brown could.
I think, again, in terms of the whole team, they're going different directions. I feel like Saturday may not be the world's best coach, but he definitely is getting more out of that offensive line. You can tell by Taylor's production, something good. They're starting to play harder, and Pittman is a target monster, and I like his size. As opposed to Brown, I generally prefer the big type receiver. Also, like, what is Rondale Moore's status? Is he healthy? Is he, because they like him now? There's a lot going on in Arizona.
Yeah. I don't know if Rondale's going to suit up this week. He's been banged up lately. But yeah, a lot of targets or a lot of mouths to feed, not as many targets to go around. So yeah, we're going to say stick with Pittman here. Eric, we love the question though. Thank you for asking it. Here we have Yazar. How should I feel about my team heading into the playoffs? I got Patty Mahomes, Dalvin Cook, CMC, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, David Njoku, some Hollywood Brown action for you, Treylon Burks, Pacheco, Tyler Bass, Madison. So a pretty decent team here, guys. A little bit of questions, I guess, in the wide receivers, in the depth there, and at tight end. Mike, you're as big of a David Njoku stan as there is out there. How do you feel about this team, given that might be his weakest point, given Njoku's injuries?
I mean, I don't even see another tight end, and he's out this week. So it's currently definitely your weakest point is you need to grab a tight end, at least for this week. When he plays, though, he's so good. The catch Njoku, the touchdown catch he made last week was like all world. Like,
oh my God.
Yes. The guy draped on him, just crazy talented player. So you hope that he gets back to playing. I agree, though. Obviously your wide receivers are your soft spot here. I think Amon-Ra is excellent and is going to have a very strong finish, like he did last year. You need to hope that Brown and Burks emerge, and that Allen is healthy and starts playing like he has been. I don't know if you've got a trade deadline that is already passed. Maybe move someone for you have an amazing quarterback, obviously, and 2 great running backs. So that's where championships are made a lot of times. So you definitely are in it. But yeah, your wide receivers are a little soft.
Nate, if the trade deadline has not passed for Yazar here, would you consider trying to get out of Hollywood Brown and Pacheco, maybe flipping it for a better flex play, maybe flipping it for a better tight end here? Is that what you're considering if you are in this position right now?
I'd try and flip those guys for a better wide receiver or flex option. As far as tight ends go, you don't want to give up on Njoku because if he gets healthy for the playoff run with Deshaun Watson, and if Deshaun Watson's playing well, that's a massive value. What I would do, move those 2 guys, get a receiver to kind of bolster your wide receiver core, but then just stream a tight end this week. stream a tight end. There are two guys I really like that are streaming options are Jelani Woods and Daniel Bellinger. They should be available.
Woods is not practicing, is he?
He's questionable, but it sounds like he's trending towards playing. And if you don't like those or they're not available, you could go hunt Harrison Bryant. I mean, he's probably on your waiver wire, kind of the Njoku handcuff. I don't love that play, but it puts somebody in your lineup.
Yeah.
Or Cade Otton because Cameron Brate's questionable again.
That's a really good point, Nate. And like at this point in the season, there aren't many tight ends that are really worth trading for outside of Kelsey. If you want to take a risk on Andrew, which I don't think you can get for these players. So yeah, I like that advice there, Nate. Go ahead and try to get a flex play if you can, and circle back at tight end streaming options this week. Here we have a question from Eric: James Cook or Swift the rest of the season? So this is, a couple weeks ago we would not have considered this, but guys, Swift has been awful. Nate, you and I have been screaming from mountaintops for maybe since the last time Mike was on that you should be getting out of DeAndre Swift.
Yep. He's
not getting the touches right now. He's seen one game above 12 plus touches, and that was all the way back in week 1, guys. Well, so it hasn't been great for him.
What's concerning to me is if you look at his snap share the last 4 weeks, 16, 31, 31, and 34. He's just not on the field because Jamal Williams has been far more efficient.
Well, and they're even playing Justin Jackson, and Justin Jackson is god-awful. Like, it drives me up a wall to honestly see them put in Justin Jackson. I have more Williams than I do Swift, so I'm more rooting for Williams to get the touches. But even still, I'd rather see Swift, at least move the ball. How do you feel about this, Mike? Like, in a vacuum, I feel like Swift probably still has the best upside, but James Cook is at least a meaningful player for one of the best offenses in the league.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't get it either. Like when you watch Swift too, it's not, he looks good. Like he runs strong. He's got more physical gifts than Williams. But Williams is great at the goal line, but he should be the guy in between the 20s at the very least. And I just don't get why he's not. He appears to be healthy. That to me is the most concerning thing. And they're still just barely using him. But in the spot work he does well with it. It's crazy. I don't get it. And I guess you got to go with Cook, the hotter hand and the more sort of emergent player at the moment. But like, I don't understand Swift. I think next year he'll be like in the sort of RB 10 to 20 conversation again, people will be like, no, he had a bad year and he's coming back. And now they say they want to use him a ton. And maybe even he gets moved. I don't even know what his prognosis is, but I truly don't get why he's getting so little run right now.
Nate, with all this being said, if you roster Swift here, would you make the move for James Cook? What are you doing here if you roster Swift already?
Yeah, I think I am making the move for James Cook. And you look at his snap share percentage, it's also really low, but
it's going up though.
It's going up. But when he's on the field, this is the difference. He is involved in the play in a meaningful way. He's either getting a target or a carry. I think 2 weeks ago, there were only 2 such snaps where he wasn't fully involved in the play, targeted or touching the ball. So with that, when he's on the field, they're using him. And as his snap share increases, his usage is going to increase. And I think he does pass DeAndre Swift by the end of the season.
20 touches for him last night, guys. Yep. Like that's the upside he has there. And like at the end of the day, Swift might be maybe a more talented back. Maybe I think Cook is very talented as well. But 20 touches versus, 8 to 10 that you're getting with Swift, especially in the Buffalo offense, they're more valuable. So I think you have to go Cook here. And I have Singletary in a league, and I dropped Cook yesterday for Jalen Samuels because I was just like, maybe it's not going to happen for Cook this year. And so I'm hitting myself on the head a little bit as I was watching that game last night. Moving forward, though, to the next question here, we got one from Albert. Chris Olave or Christian Watson, half PPR. Albert, I would love to know if this is a start-sit question or rest of season question. I'm guessing it's a start-sit here. Mike, you're in love with Olave. Has that cooled down lately? Christian Watson's been on absolute burner.
Green Bay has the Bears, and who does the Saints have? The Buccaneers?
Yes, correct. Monday Night Football for him.
Man, gosh darn it. Like Watson seems like feast or famine, and Olave, I would still go with Olave, and I know I may get burned on that. Fantasy Receipts may pull a little clip here and make me Twitter famous. But I just, just the tonnage, the targets, and the like, that passing offense should run through Olave. Like, he's miles ahead of everyone else. And Bucks are not really great with their secondary this year. Yeah, I would go Olave, and I'm probably going to get disagreed with by at least one of you guys.
Well,
let me just say one last thing. You just I don't know what's going on with Green Bay's QB situation or their heart at this point. I'm not sure. Yeah. Like, we'll get to Rodgers later, but I have thoughts on that. But there's just some question marks there, and I would roll with Olave, just higher floor.
Okay. Yeah, I absolutely agree that Olave is a certainly higher floor. Christian Watson, though, Nate, Bears, they lost Eddie Jackson, their star safety, last week. The secondary's been falling apart. Aaron Rodgers said on Pat McAfee this week he's probably going to be out there. I kind of trust his word on that. Are you rolling with Christian Watson here? Because it's a great matchup against the Bears. They've been a top 5 play for over the last month for some of these wide receivers, and they haven't really faced that good of quarterbacks either.
I'm still going Olave here because I think the Tampa Bay matchup is also pretty favorable. Their secondary hasn't been great, and I know Andy Dalton's the quarterback, but I still think we're going to see Olave get hyper-targeted. He had 9 targets against San Francisco last week. Without a touchdown, he still had 11.2 PPR points. So I think unless you need a massive point total this week to win, like you are just down in the dumps everywhere else, I'm going with Olave.
That's a good point. And like, you do have to make the decision kind of early with Green Bay playing on Sunday versus the Monday night game. They're at 1:00 in Chicago. So yeah, like if you got let down last night, maybe you played Gabe Davis or something like that, and you need the boom, I would definitely go Watson. Either way, I'm going Watson here. But I don't mind the Olave. It's definitely safer on that side. Look out for Allen Lazard too. I featured him in my column yesterday. People are kind of down and out on Allen Lazard. I think he's going to come back in a big way. 100% snap share last week for Lazard. So I think he's a safer play than Watson as well, just not as much upside.
Let me just say one quick thing, just to button this, and just some Watson love. On that crosser last week, when he caught the ball in the middle of the field, you just knew he was going to beat everyone else. That was an elite play, like elite physical ability. And you just saw it because you know how fast he is. You were like, you could instantly see, like, they don't have the angle. Watch this. He's going to get to that sideline. So I'm not saying the guy's not super talented. Yeah. I just think that Olave is right outside of, as Seth said, if you need a monster number, you think you're playing the best team in the league or something, and you need all the points. Olave's the safer play for 10 to 15 points.
Before we move forward, Mike, I do want to hear your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers, because you seem like you had something to say about it, and you cut some pretty good promos sometimes about these what a lot of people can consider a diva athlete. I like Rodgers. I think he's his own person. How do you feel about him right now in the thick of it? In regard to this week as a start or sit, he's just not a QB1 this week, I don't think. And like, there's a bunch of guys in sort of the 12 to 22 rankings that I would start over him for a variety of reasons. I would start Jimmy G, for example, who's like sort of QB 15 in a lot of lists this week in a second over Rodgers. Even if he were 100% healthy, which it doesn't seem like he is. No. And I would still, because I just think there's a chance he plays a quarter or a half. It's not there. And he's like, guys, I can't grip the ball. I'm out. Let's give Jordan the ball. I just think that's a possibility. So that's a real problem if you're trying to make the playoffs. I just can't. I'm just not high on him at all this week. And again, he's the kind of guy who loves proving, dummies like me wrong. So who knows what's going to happen? But you are a loyal member or a former resident of Chicago, so let's keep that in mind. Yeah, 25-3 record for Aaron Rodgers against the Bears in his career, so he has been electric. Nate, what do you think? Hearing what Mike just said, everything is absolutely true. However, Rodgers was the QB7 in the last month before he got hurt on Sunday.
Before he got hurt on Sunday, I think Mike's right here. I think maybe we see him for a quarter or a half. There's a good chance of that. And he's like, guys, I can't, I'm in too much pain. I'm not effective. And even if we don't see that here, guys, I am still starting over Aaron Rodgers this week. Jared Goff?
No.
Mike White?
No.
Yeah.
Jimmy G.
Yes.
I didn't change that.
Dak Prescott.
No.
Geno Smith.
Yes.
Okay. Would you consider starting Tom Brady against New Orleans? There's only one right answer here, and it's no.
I
was just testing you here.
One thing importantly, I think was it McAfee. He said this week, Aaron Rodgers, he was like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that as we fade here from our playoff contention, that I step aside and let Jordan get some run this year. Okay, when Aaron Rodgers says something like that, like listen up, because that guy doesn't say stuff like that and doesn't think like that unless there's something really, really real and serious going on. And he just doesn't, he's either too hurt or like doesn't want to play. Doesn't want to play if they're, 4-9 or 4-10, or you know what I mean? He's like,
that seems like the more likely scenario.
He's allowing for the possibility that Jordan Love may be the starter in a few of these late season games. That's crazy talk from Aaron Rodgers. And pay heed, Rodgers lovers. And that's not just the Chicago talking. That's different talk from him.
I love the passion, Mike. Here's another question for us. We got Zay Jones versus the Lions and Treylon Burks versus Philly. This is an easy slam dunk. Zay Jones versus the Lions. 14 targets for him last week. He's had an exceptionally good run here as of late. Nate, how do you feel about this? Zay Jones. I mean, Burks has been good too, but he kind of got the fluky touchdown last week a little bit. I think Zay's safer.
Zay is definitely a safer play. This team's better when he's involved in the offense. Look what they did last week. They pulled off a massive upset that nobody thought was possible because this Jacksonville team's better than anyone thinks. It's Zay Jones for me. It's not just that he's more involved. It's this matchup against a really, 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 really just awfully bad Lions defense.
Mike, any thoughts here on Zay Jones? He's been electric. Like, honestly, he was one of my favorite sleepers coming into the season. I think he's a really good ball player. Still holds the college reception in a season record as well.
No, yeah, Nate, you're both right. Zay, he's the clear number 2 on that team now. Trevor Lawrence is starting to play like ridiculously good football. The Lions, that's a good matchup for him. Burks has a much harder matchup. And it's more of a run-first team. This is kind of a no-brainer, I think, Zay Jones.
Okay, awesome. Let's get to one more here, at least when Mike's still in. We got one from Brandon. What's up, Brandon? Thanks for tuning in on this Feel Good Friday, man. Thank you for making us a part of it. Kyren or Zonovan in the flex, constantly flipping between both, full PPR. All right, guys, I was hoping we'd get to a Zonovan Knight question. I put him on the thumbnail for a reason. He's the hot commodity right now, guys, and I think it's for a reason. Like, he was pretty decent at NC State. If you guys watched any of his games last season, he was pretty decent. Like, he's not Breece Hall, but in a game where James Robinson was just a healthy scratch, Michael Carter's probably doubtful. He is listed as doubtful, so probably not going to play in this one. Nate, we kind of touched on this earlier in the week, but he was super efficient, 3 for 34 through the air, 14 carries, 69 yards. Mike White's trigger happy for these RBs too. He has a consistent basis of always throwing to these RBs. Minnesota has been a 6 best matchups for RB over the last month. I love Zonovan Knight here. Is that my frisky Jets love, Nate, or are you feeling it too, brother?
Dude, I don't know what happened, but apparently your frisky Jets love rubbed off on me because I really, with Mike White, I love this team. I love these weapons. And there was a reason, as we talked about earlier in the week, that James Robinson was a healthy scratch last week. It's because his team likes what they have in Zonovan Knight. And I don't think James Robinson is like fully back from that Achilles tear. He's not as explosive as he's been in the past. I really like Zonovan Knight this week. This is a tough matchup. They're going to have to put up points because we know what Minnesota is capable of with Justin Jefferson, and the coverage doesn't really matter. Jefferson's done it against elite corners all season. So they're going to be able to run the ball, I think, against Minnesota. And Zonovan Knight's explosive. I really like him. I'm playing him over Kyren Williams, especially because the Rams, like, what is their run game? What is this team?
What is the
Who's
Rams?
starting at quarterback? What are the Rams?
Yeah.
They're horrible.
He's not going to get in the end zone most likely. Rams are a bottom 5 scoring offense, bottom 5 in yards. Mike, how do you feel about it, given that the Rams offensive line's also been absolute dog shit this year?
again, no exciting, spicy controversy here where someone agrees with someone. I'm in total agreement with you guys. This is not even close, I don't think. Even if Michael Carter were 100% and excited and like, I'm going to have a huge game and like talking all kinds of, a locker room optimism talk, I'd still be on Zonovan. Like the fact that he's most likely out, this is not even close. The Rams are a complete mess and the Jets look good. Mike White loves checkdowns. They're going to be needing to move the ball and score. And like, I just think that this is maybe a potential coming out party for our man Zon.
Let's go, baby. I love it. I love the Zon hype there. Here's another one, same vein as well. How ballsy are you willing to get with Zonovan Knight? That's the question here. Guys, I'm throwing my nutsack on the table. I would start him over George Pickens here. I know the matchup is really enticing against the Falcons. However, that's a lower total of a game. I don't think I really want to like get too invested in Steelers Falcons. It's just not a sexy matchup for me, or it's a sexy matchup, but not a sexy game. So I got to roll with Zonovan Knight here. Mike, how ballsy are you willing to get?
Yeah, I think so too. Just because the volume, I just think that Zonovan is going to have a lot more opportunity than Pickens, like to do something. I just think that in this case, you go with the running back based on the volume alone. But Pickens is good. But I would go with Zonovan. Okay.
Nate, how do you feel about it? You are wearing a Steelers jersey as we speak.
I'm the same. What's interesting about it is as bad as Atlanta's defense has been, they do get pressure against bad offensive lines, which that's the Steelers. They have a terrible offensive line.
Certainly.
And Pickett's a rookie. So I think he's going to have a little bit of a hard time with this blitz. And I think that Pickens is a sit. I think he plays Zonovan. You go for the boom. Boom from Bam.
Okay, baby. Yeah, you guys can tune in after this. We got a whole Jets podcast on deck for you. No, I'm just kidding. We could honestly do a Jets podcast by the amount we talk about them. Mike, we want to thank you so much for joining us, man. Keep the questions coming in, guys. We will talk about them with our next guest as well. Mike, can you tell us where we can find you, how we can best support you, not just at the end of 2022, but moving forward as well, our friend?
Well, I'm at Mike Stoyanov on Twitter, and other than that, I'm not really a social media guy. I guess I'm on Instagram, but I never post. But come join.
Mike, you gotta get on the TikTok scene. Are you on TikTok yet?
I'm not. My little niece is a TikToker, and it's sucking her into a TikTok vortex, and we never. Yep. She's 11, and she's already disappeared. She's already gone. Like but I will look at that. I will look at TikTok as a possibility.
I think you'd be hilarious on there.
Still thoroughly infiltrated by Chinese spies, is it? Is that, that's like.
I mean, what isn't
the old man opinion of TikTok is like, no, it's Chinese mind control, right? No.
Yes. And Mike, we're also waiting. I think still coming up either later this year, early next year. You're going to be on the show, The Rookie. Is that right?
Yes, I have a couple little scenes on The Rookie on an episode of The Rookie, Nathan Fillion show. A lot of fun. It's on one of the networks, I think NBC. It should be in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Awesome.
Well, my mom is very excited.
Yes. Well, we are excited too, man. We are excited for that. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, man. We hope to see you soon, our friend.
Anytime. I'll see you guys. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Happy holidays, buddy.
All right. Great to see Mike there. Guys, keep the questions coming. We're going to get to those just as we get over into our next segment here. Sure Things, Sleepers of the Week.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
All right. Sure Thing, Sleepers of the Week. This is your thing. And to help us give you your thing, we're joined now by a longtime friend of the show and this newest member of the Draft Sharks analyst team. Guys, give it up for the one, the only. Some know him as CH. Some know him as Charles. We know him as Herms. What's up, Herms?
What up, buddy?
What is up, my dudes? Hello. We did it.
Hello.
We're on the show. We're doing the thing. We're talking about Sure Thing Sleepers.
Absolutely. We are here, our friend. Sorry you have to follow up Mike Stoyanov. I know that's always a challenge, but it's good to see you today, my friend.
It's fun, like you mentioned that, like I'm backstage. I'm just like, okay, like I'll show up a little early, like I'll try to connect some dots from what they're talking about, making a nice smooth transition. And then I'm like, oh damn, that guy, oh he's here, oh my god, yeah, like man, oh man, my mom's gonna geek out when I tell her about this.
Well, Herms, we're glad to hear it, man. How are the vibes heading into this Feel Good Friday? Also, congratulations on your newest fantasy full-time role over there, man. We're very happy for you, buddy. Well deserved.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That has definitely made up for certain leagues of mine not going very well. So it's made the season feel a lot more worth it. Like, oh, I'll tell you, man, I just, because not to make it, too much about me, but just like the one thing that's really bothering me the most is I was so sure about my Scott Fishbowl team. Like, I was like, this build is like super cool. I went like super bully tight end. I was like, there's no way this is going to fail. But in order for me to put that team together, I pinned my hopes on starting multiple tight ends instead of 2 quarterbacks. But the one quarterback I picked was Matt Ryan.
Oh no.
So my team was basically just toast by like week 6. I was like, okay, all right, I'm not making the playoffs this year. That's fine.
If it makes you feel any better, I hung my hat on getting Davis Mills in the 11th round and J.K. Dobbins in the 10th round.
Yeah. See you, buddy. Yeah. I took Russell Wilson in the first, guys, so you could be me right now. It has been brutal out there, but we're still having fun along the way. Vibes are high over here. Herms, before we jump into some short thing sleepers, I'm seeing some questions coming in the chat. Do you have some time to answer these as well?
Yeah, that's what this is all about.
Hell yeah, 100%. Man. Hell yeah. We got our guy Flores. I don't know if he's related to the great coach Flores, but if either way, we appreciate you tuning in today, Flores, making some part of your busy Friday. Pick 2, Leonard Fournette, Rachaad White, Cortland Sutton, Cordell Patterson, Deebo Samuel. Must-win week for him. He's 5-7. PPR, by the way. No pressure, Herms, but is a must-win week for our friend Flores.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, the one I'm definitely going with is Rachaad White, just because it seems Tampa is fine just, rolling with that dude. And, he's been super good. I don't know why they would go away from something that's working. And even if Fournette is a little more integrated than he, kind of had been a little bit, even pre-injury, Rachaad White's just so good out of the receiving game out of the backfield to the point where I don't think he'll bust necessarily. So in a must-win scenario, I would definitely feel comfortable recommending somebody that could go off, but also has a really good chance of not completely ruining it for you. Mm-hmm. And I had the pleasure of meeting Rachaad White on the Hayden Hurst Mental Health Podathon over the summer.
Oh, so, wow.
Really nice guy, too. So I'm just, awesome. I get that extra level of motivation to root for him. But then I got to say, if Christian McCaffrey or whatever, isn't healthy, then you absolutely cannot go with Deebo Samuel, because I feel like at that point it's going to be one of those things where Jimmy G is just going to lean on Brandon Ayuk instead.
Yeah. Well, and also it's looking like Deebo might not play.
Yeah. So
really?
Yeah. I saw some chatter that he is on the bad side of questionable.
Yeah. So it's working through this, I'm kind of just parsing through what you shouldn't do, I guess. But Rachaad White, I feel pretty good about. And then, as much as I hate to say it, the Steelers' run defense is good when everyone's healthy, but there are some older guys, and if some of those guys have to leave a series or two because they pick up a knock along the way, it's pretty easy to run against them. So, also the amount of work that they allow to receiving backs is pretty good, and especially without Kyle Pitts in the lineup, Cordero Patterson's seen even more usage doing all of that stuff. So, yeah, I would just go with the 2 pass-catching backs between Rachaad White and Cordero Patterson.
Okay. If Deebo's in, I agree definitely on White. I'm playing him. I don't want anything to do with Cortland Sutton right now. Fournette's a little iffy in his first game back. I don't really trust him. So it's down to Deebo or Patterson for me. If Deebo's in, though, guys, I feel like I almost have to roll with him. I don't know what they're going to throw at Mike McDaniel, but they got to get ballsy. They got to get crazy because Mike McDaniel knows his scheme a little bit, but he doesn't know this offense. He's never seen it with CMC. He's never seen it with Brandon Ayuk being an absolute dog as well, and George Kittle kind of all being healthy at the same time. So I don't know. I think the 49ers are going to show some fireworks here. Dolphins have been a great matchup against wide receivers as well. Nate, how do you feel about all this being said?
I think Rachaad White and Cordarrelle Patterson are pretty solid plays. If Deebo Samuel doesn't play, which I'm kind of trying to look into it here real quick. He didn't practice yesterday. They said he had to get on the field today, but I haven't seen it if he has or hasn't. I mean, it's only 11:20 in San Francisco, so we'll have some news later in the day on that. But I think even if Deebo plays, actually, I'm probably still going to say Rachaad White and Cordarrelle Patterson.
Okay. So 2 Pattersons and 3 Whites for us, and then I said I'd go Deebo. These fine gentlemen said they would go Patterson either way. So we appreciate that. Got John in the chat saying, bam, Knight, referring back to our Knight discussion. And then Ronnie saying, thanks, fellas. Hey, we appreciate you tuning in today, Ronnie. Got another question for us as well. Good to see that. Need one wide receiver for our guy Ronnie here. He has Amon-Ra, St. Brown on lock. He's got Olave, Christian Watson, and Devonta Smith. We just kind of talked about this with Mike, a similar question. Herms, he went Olave, Nate went Olave versus Olave and Watson. Let's add Devonta Smith into this wrinkle. Where do you go, Herms?
I mean, I would go with Devonta Smith mostly just because I'm thinking about what the Eagles are going to have to do to win this game. And they're not going to be able to do it on the heels of the rushing attack like they get against the Packers. Like that Titans front, like that's not easy, man. That is definitely not easy at all. Like it's going to have to come through Jalen Hurts' arm to get things done. So like I'm kind of just looking at how that game is probably going to naturally progress. The only way they keep, their success going and keep that record up, to get that 1 seed in the NFC or whatever, like they're going to have to throw. They just have to. It's the only way I see them winning. But I mean, you can't go wrong with Olave though. I mean, I certainly get why that was mentioned earlier. I mean, he's super good, but I don't know. I think I would still roll with Devonta Smith.
Man, Nate, does this change anything for you? You were in the Olave camp with Mike. Are you bandwagoning here over to Smith with Herms? That's a great point, Herms, about that Titans front. Jeffrey Simmons is no joke, and I think people don't really take him for what he is.
Yeah, I don't think Philly wants anything to do with this defensive line. Miles Sanders, talented runner, not going to get it done this week. Obviously, Kenneth Gainwell hasn't been a factor. So this is a big A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith week, I think. What this could have been if Dallas Goedert didn't get hurt.
Right.
But yeah, I think Devonta Smith's the play here.
Devonta Smith does have a low floor. That's all I'm going to say. We've seen it a couple times. He could get you 2 receptions for 20 yards. So, guys, do I have beer goggles on for Watson right now? Because
you do.
How can you bench him after 3 wide receiver 1 weeks going up against a Bears secondary that's absolutely shot, just lost their best safety in Eddie Jackson? I feel like this is, and guys, it's Aaron Rodgers, 23-5 against this team. Am I crazy?
Yes, because Aaron Rodgers isn't 100%. This team isn't playing well. And I love Christian Watson, but I don't see it this week. I think it's a Lazard week. I think there's potential, but I don't think it's a smash. And I think that Devonta Smith and Chris Olave just have a more reliable floor this week.
Okay. We got one here back from Flores again. Ronnie, we appreciate the question. They're saying Smith. I can't get off Watson, so I apologize for us not being in uniform there. But appreciate the question either way, Ronnie. Hope you subscribe to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. Here we got Flores back in the chat. He's saying, okay, let's add Zonovan Knight to this situation. The same one we just talked about, Rachaad White, Deebo, Patterson. He has him on his bench. Not sure if he's a good play. We just talked him up quite a bit, guys. I'm interested here. Mike White's going to pepper the running back. I think I would go Knight almost over Patterson. I think is it really safe after we've seen 1 game? Probably not, but I don't know, man. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Knight goes out and drops 25 points. I don't think Patterson has that this week. I don't think Deebo has that. How do you feel about this, Herms?
I think if we definitively know that Zonovan Knight's just going to get a healthy amount of involvement, that I would probably put him and Cordarrelle Patterson in the same general range. So, like, I could see somebody going either way with it, and I don't really blame them, because, like, we're operating under the assumption that Zonovan Knight is going to immediately walk into the type of usage that he received last week, which was a circumstance born out of injury to someone else.
Yeah.
And we have seen numerous times over the course of watching professional football, a guy leaves a game early, a team goes to, one player to replace them, and then the very next week, once they've had a full week to prepare, they give responsibility to somebody else instead of the guy that we saw coming in relief. So, like, that is always kind of a tricky thing. Like, first thing that comes to my mind is, it was like a couple years ago, like, whoever the running back was for the Falcons or whatever, like, got hurt, and Kadri Olesen came into the game and got like close to 20 carries or something. So on the waiver wire that week, it was like, guys, I'm telling you, Kadri Olesen, it's going to be because, like, instinctually that's what we believed was going to happen. But then they just gave all the touches to someone else, and it's like, well, I'm nervous about it, but I have more thoughts on Bam Knight to share. So
yeah, okay. So we will have some more thoughts on Knight later in the show as well. He's on the thumbnail today, so I appreciate all the questions with him. It makes sense why we're talking about him so much. I personally, I would roll Bam Knight, man. I'd roll Bam Knight and White out there. Nate, does this change you, or are you still sticking by Patterson here?
No. I'm rolling out Bam, baby.
Let's go, baby. Bam Knight. Bam Knight. If Bam Knight has a terrible league, I apologize.
2 carries for 6 yards and a fumble.
I don't know, man. He looked electric. I'm going to roll
He
with
did.
him here.
He did.
And I'm also rolling with Christian Watson from that last question, too. And it looks like our friend John Helmkamp is as well. He says, Nate, Joe Flacco could go out there and put up 300 yards and 4 TDs against this Bears secondary this week. I don't care about Rodgers' injury. Watson's going to smash. I love it, John. I know these boys probably aren't on it with me, but I love it. We got
respectfully,
Flores.
John, that beard's going to your head, buddy.
All right. We got Flores saying, appreciate the advice, boys. Dropped a like and a sub. Thank you so much, man. That is really the easiest way to support us here at IBT, so we greatly appreciate that. Half PPR, Pittman or Debo. We've talked about these two guys already as well from our so we got this one from T here. T, we appreciate you making us part of your busy Friday, man. Herms, how do you feel about Pittman and Debo? I think this one's pretty easy for me.
I've been outrageously irritated as the Michael Pittman manager in my home league, like, the whole season. But when it comes down to it, I end up trusting him on a weekly basis. I just do.
Yeah.
It got a little bit annoying there when they tried the whole Sam Ellinger experiment, but even then he wasn't like that bad. So, like, Jeff Saturday, for, like, however we want to, debate his, credibility for getting the job that he currently has at least figured out, what if, and bear with me here, we scheme up an offense that gets the ball to the people on this team who are really good. Oh, and, like, that's been, the whole revelation, So, look, if it ain't broke, I'm not
right.
He won't. It was broke, and then Jeff Saturday walked in and fixed it. So, like, we're good, like, and like we were saying before, like, we still don't even know if Devo's going to be healthy. So, like, by virtue of that, I didn't even have to say everything that I just said, because, like, the other guy might be hurt. So, like, at least the healthier guy,
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely on with Pittman. I will say, honestly, I was a little bit wrong. When Sam Ellinger came in, I was willing to sell him for penny on the dollar. I wasn't able to get really what I wanted, so I held on to him in a lot of leagues, kind of like you, Herms, and he's been solid. And I think Sunday night football, it's going to be in Dallas. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy. I think they're going to try to find their best player, or one of their 2 best players, in Michael Pittman here. Nate, any digression from you?
Absolutely not. I love Michael Pittman.
Okay. Well, all right, guys. The section is called Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. So we are going to get in some Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. And Herms, you are a humble guest, my friend. So we will hand the microphone over to you first, please.
Yeah. So when I didn't know that this was going to be a Zonovan Knight show. I didn't know. So, like, I was looking through, like, trying to pick a good player to talk about. And I was like, You know what I feel like would be really timely advice to give to the in-between audience? Some thoughts on Jets running back Zonovan. So that's what I prepared. I
love it.
Like as soon as it got to that question, while I was still hanging out in the background, like I even said it in the private chat, and I was like, "There goes my sleeper." There it is. So here we go, folks. Your old pal Herms giving you more Zonovan Knight propaganda. There it is. Because look, like I was a little bit surprised that he went. Yeah, I think he went undrafted, right?
He did.
Yeah, like,
and he was good in college.
Yes, like I couldn't find a ton to like watch of him from like his time at NC State, but like what I was able to find, because like I know like Nate knows, like once it gets into, you know, like the end of the regular season for the NFL, I just like nerd out and create really long Word documents breaking down like the running back classes for the rookies and stuff. For some reason, I'm just like really super into that. I'm just like I'm the less intelligent Matt Waldman. That's for, you know, but I only do it for running backs because it's like that's just the position that I have the most interest in. And Zonovan Knight was one of those people that like I was very impressed by consistent production over the course of those 3 years. Like he never did anything that necessarily leapt off the page, but he was remarkably consistent every single year he was in college. And from like watching him, you just see like a very compact runner that knows exactly how to make very decisive moves to, you know, make his way through to the second level and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, it's clear that he understands the assignment when he's handed the ball. He has pretty decent vision and he has a good bag of tricks to be able to get himself open. And like, because he's so slippery, I kind of figured he'd maybe be like, at best, like a 4th round pick or something. But like, I also didn't think at worst he would be undrafted. I was very surprised. Like, you know, like it's not somebody that I, you know, immediately watched and was like, oh yeah, you know, in certain years, this guy would be a 1st round pick, you know, like not that type of world beating talent by any means, but he's good. He's really good. But he immediately fell off my radar as soon as he signed with the Jets. Cause I was just like, okay, well, they still have Michael Carter. They still have Breece Hall, all this, you know, like that sucks. So he's not on any of my taxi squads in Dynasty or anything. But actually, no, that's not true now because I did pick him up in a few leagues this week because he was still out there in some. Like the opportunity's there. I really liked the prospect. I just hated the landing spot because it was going to be a difficult path for opportunity. But we see it every single year, time and time again. Injuries to the running back position. That's why you have to roster a lot of these guys in your dynasty leagues and stuff, because like once some opportunity, you know, opens up in front of you, boom, the whole world is your oyster. Yeah. Zonovan Knight's getting that now, dude. Like, what was it? Like over, like, I mean, I think he got to like 100 combined yards, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So like, how cool is that? How cool is that? Like, and like you guys were saying before, like one of the reasons that Michael Carter was such an interesting option for people last year was because Mike White was just the check down monster, just being like, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Instead of throwing downfield, oh, running back. Oh, man. if they're gonna keep doing that, I'm all for it. More Zonovan Knight hype, everybody. More.
And you know, like the crazy thing is like last week, Michael Carter was my sure thing sleeper of the week heading into it. It was a great matchup for him. Mike White, I loved him under quarterback. Mike White helped Michael Carter average 18.3 PPR points per game going into last week when Mike White was the quarterback. Running backs are successful with this guy. And I agree with you, Herms. Like he wasn't a guy who popped off the page for me when we did our college scouting, but I watched enough Devin Leary. I rode with NC State enough times in gambling to my demise, actually, that I've seen this guy play. He's explosive. He gets the job done. He's not that great in Madden. I used him in Madden last night. He was a little underwhelming, so I was a little bummed out to see that. But other than that, I love this play. Nate, any final words on Mr. Zonovan Knight? This has been his show. Put him in the thumbnail. Put him in the caption. Put him in the title and everything.
It's the Zonovan Knight Show, or as Jack and I called it last night, the White Knight Show this week. This is a great call. I'm on it. I have been kind of looking into Zonovan Knight because I'll be honest, it was a name I had heard but wasn't super familiar with. I didn't go that deep in my running back analysis this past offseason. Lesson learned here. I love this, though. He's explosive. He's got the talent. It's the type of back that Mike White likes to target in the passing game. So
fantastic.
Good call, man.
Fantastic. Zonovan Knight, you guys heard the hype here. If you guys, again, we might have to start a new Jets podcast as well with how much we talk about this goddamn team
We're not doing that.
Frisky Jets podcast. It might be.
I mean.
Yeah, check us in the offseason. I wore my Jets colors today as well for this. I don't know if you guys noticed that, green and black. So we're here. Nate, take us away from the Jets, though. Who is your sure thing sleeper of the week? Week 13 edition.
Looking through the ESPN rankings this morning, I don't understand this because they have Josh Palmer for week 13 as the wide receiver 31 in PPR. That's insane. No Mike Williams this week. Now, Keenan Allen's back, but they're playing Las Vegas. Now, when they played the Chiefs in week 11, he had 106 yards and 2 touchdowns, 8 catches. The Chiefs are only giving up 4 more PPR points to wide receivers than Las Vegas is. It's a similar matchup, similar players on the field with no Mike Williams. Josh Palmer could be a wide receiver 1 this week, and that's not a ridiculous statement. If he has another 100-yard, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdown game, that could pop him into a top 12 slot. This is a division game. The Chargers need to win this game.
The floor is really nice for Josh Palmer, honestly. Yep. 200 yards games in the last month for him. Yep. His worst performance was a 7-point PPR performance in that last month as well. So I really do like this call. The only thing I'll say, Nate, is, again, this might just be me thinking this a little fluky. Last 2 weeks, you've also targeted the Raiders for your short thing sleeper of the week. Neither of them have hit. So I'm worried that this Raiders defense is improving. But I don't think it's enough to stop Josh Palmer. That being said, they
have not been improving at least the last 4 weeks. So
they're improved over what they were to begin the season.
Sure.
Herms, any thoughts here on Mr. Joshua Palmer?
Well, I mean, they have been improving, but when the bar is that low,
that's fair.
Which they set the bar pretty low for themselves. Like, dude, there have been some teams that I'm barely staying afloat. Just because, I say this in a good way. I've been barely staying afloat because I had the wherewithal to pick up Josh Palmer early on. Yeah. And just every single week, it's what if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen come back? Because that's been a common theme throughout the season. We're always going to think both of them could be back, but then one or the other sits out. And Josh Palmer's back in the lineup again. So it's just oh, thank God I still held on to him, because there are some, leagues where, he's still stunningly available. But I've been rolling with Josh Palmer as break glass in case of emergency the whole season. So you are never going to hear me say a bad word about that guy. I am absolutely a fan of this idea.
All right. Fair enough there. Nate, we appreciate your sure thing sleeper of the week. Before we jump into mine, got a couple questions here. First one is from our guy, Scott Bridger. I like that last name, Bridger. It's a pretty cool one. Rashad White, Zonovan, or Jamal Williams, guys. This is a tough one because we've talked up Rashad White today. We've talked up Jamal Williams for a couple of months here on the show. And Zonovan, this is his show. Herms, how do you feel about this? Lions, they're going after the Jaguars. You're really looking for Jamal Williams touchdowns here. That is what you're going week in and week out. He's scoring them. Can you get off of Jamal Williams here for Zonovan?
Absolutely not. This is, despite the theme of the show, despite everything that I just got finished saying, all of that, yes, the Zonovan White show, but not for this question. Of these three, you're not going with Zonovan White. Jamal Williams, probably the quietest top 12 running back season I can recall, because it's just, It seems so quote unquote boring, but it happens every week. It's just, and I think it's averaging 14.9 PPR points throughout the season. I think that's kind of why his top 12 season doesn't really have the kind of, glitz and glamour and allure as, it would for somebody else. But boring points are still points. So put him in your lineup. And then as much as we like Zonovan, Rashad White, it's a better offense somewhat. And we were all saying, do you really want to trust Leonard Fournette coming back? Not even just for fantasy, but pretend that we are right now collectively in a room, the Buccaneers coaching staff. Are we going to look at, the running back room and say, all right, we're paying this guy a lot of money, but he's also like still kind of hurt. He's barely coming back, but we have this really good young guy that we know if we keep giving the ball is going to be super good.
They don't need to. Yeah,
exactly. Like in a hypothetical situation in which we are tasked with that decision, I feel like we would arrive at a similar conclusion that they would. So like, yeah, dude, like shout out Zonovan Knight, but not in this case. No.
Yeah. No. And I agree with you. And I think the Bucs do still, regardless of their under 500 record, this is still a Super Bowl aspiring team. So I think they want playoff Lenny to be healthy and become playoff Lenny down the stretch. So I think they will ride White here. Despite our frisky Jets love, Scott, we are going with Rachaad White here and Jamal. Nate, any digression from you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And we have our guy Eric in the chat saying, I am Buccaneers coaching staff.
Okay, well then could you tell us what you're gonna do?
Yeah, come on.
Be helpful here.
We'd appreciate the insight. Here we got Craig saying, what's up, Craig? Good to see you today, buddy. Saying, I don't trust anyone. Just makes it all easier. We totally understand that one, buddy. And we got Flores with another question here. Buddy Flores, what do you guys think about Jaylen Warren? He's hearing that Najee's probably not going to play against the Atlanta Falcons. I like Jaylen Warren this week. I liked him enough to drop James Cook when I rostered Devin Singletary going into last night. So I think if you need a running back too, I think Jaylen Warren's the guy. Nate, do you want to touch on him a little bit? Because he was your in the scope target. You were recommending people get him after waivers run on Wednesday. Excellent advice, my friend.
Well, I thank you. I think so. Here's the thing. There's no reason for Pittsburgh to really push it with Najee. They want this guy on the team healthy long-term, so you don't force it, especially when you've got a guy like Jaylen Warren, who you're already giving increased work to with Harris on the field. Now you've got a situation against Atlanta where they're a bad run defense. So Pittsburgh's going to run the ball, and Jaylen Warren I think he's due for about 15 probably touches or carries, but then he's also being used in the passing game. Caught all 3 of his targets the last 2 weeks he was healthy. And then here's their schedule after Atlanta. Heading into the playoffs, you get Baltimore, then you're Carolina, Vegas, and Baltimore in week 17. That's a really nice schedule for a guy who's likely to be not the bell cow, because we'll see some Snell, we'll see some other Anthony McFarland. But for the guy who's going to be the RB1 on this team the rest of the season, that's a really cherry schedule.
I don't want to say he's RB1 rest of the season for the Steelers, but as long as
I think they should. I think they're smart to shut Najee down. If this continues to linger,
you saw that a couple times this season, though.
I have.
You thought Pat Freiermuth was dead after his second concussion. So,
well, dude, independent neurologist told him to retire.
All right.
That's all.
All right. We do like Jaylen Warren, though, for the record. More this week than rest of the season for me. Scott saying, appreciate it, boys. Appreciate you, Scott. Hope you are subscribed to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. And then we have Eric saying, trade for Zonovan Knight if he's the Buccaneers coaching staff. Duh. And then we actually have some Zonovan Knight shade. We have Scheiden, Wale, however you pronounce that, in the chat saying, I trust Kyren Williams for a huge week. Zonovan Knight is nothing. Oh, well, I don't trust that Rams. Listen. I get the skepticism of Zonovan Knight. I get it. But Kyren Williams over here, Scheiden, I appreciate you tuning in the show, but man, this is a bottom 3 team in scoring in the league. This is a bottom 3 team in offensive yards. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be. This offensive line is absolute trash. They've been so all season long without Whitworth. I don't know where you're coming from, bud. Like, I like Kyren Williams. Don't get me wrong, but you're hoping for 10 points. Like that's your ceiling there. Guys, any thoughts here? Herms, you're grimacing a little bit.
I gotta be honest. I'm actually pretty excited about Kyren Williams this week.
Over Zonathan, though?
It depends on what you're looking for. I mean, so let's the real about the Rams situation here. Like, we know, the team sucks, but the Seattle Seahawks, as I was looking through, kind of looking at some numbers for this week, they are awful against receiving backs, terrible. And even if it is, what's his name, Bryce Perkins, I think, even if it is him under center or whatever, the hack to them staying in the game is just going to be dumping it off to Kyren Williams, a guy who showed in college was very good as a receiving back. And like I think it was 14 touches last week. Like he did pretty well. And this is a matchup against a defense that is really bad at stopping a player archetype that he fits into the mold of. So I don't think it's really that bad of an idea. Now, if you're going to make me pick between Kyren Williams and Zonovan Knight, like there was that question earlier, yeah, I'd still pick Zonovan Knight of the two. But I don't blame people for being interested in Kyren Williams.
Right. See, I don't hate thinking that Kyren Williams is going to have a huge week, but you can't say that Zonovan Knight is nothing because he had a good week last week and is a team that needs a running back this week because they don't really have anyone other than Ty Johnson healthy. Maybe they both have big weeks. I would still start Zonovan over Kyren Williams this week, though.
Scheiden does not agree with us. He's saying learn fantasy. He's going to get 10 receptions. LOL. All good fun here, man. He says Seahawks are trash against running backs.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, Ernst just pointed that out as well. He said, this is Kyren Williams Super Bowl. All the stars are aligning. No way. I'll talk to you next week about Zonovan Knight. Hey, man, subscribe to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. You can talk all the shit on the Frisky Jets here you want. We're here for it, man. And we appreciate the feedback. Also, Nate, I'm going to give you a little pushback now here that John's telling us. Najee off the injury report. So whatever dreams you had of Jalen Samuels rest of season, I think we need to pump the brakes on a little bit.
I didn't say anything about Jalen Samuels.
Sorry. I'm stuck in 2000.
It's not 2017.
Look, Jalen Warren can still have.
I did love Jalen.
Jalen Warren can still have fantasy value with Najee on the field.
Okay, well, I'm less excited to play him if he is. John saying, Jesus, what year is it? I loved him, man. I took him one pick before Lamar, the year Lamar had his breakout. That's how much I loved him. Just to handcuff James Conner, which was an awful idea. But yeah, I was there. We got a couple more questions here, guys. Herms, are we taking up any of your time? I want to make sure like we're aligning with your schedule as well.
We're good.
We're going a little bit over our time, but the questions, the feedback's great today, guys. We love it. Would you rather carry Van Jefferson or Chase Claypool on your bench full PPR? Right now it's Chase Claypool. I want to see what he can do. Justin Fields healthy. No Darnell Mooney. I think he gets a bump. There's a chance he doesn't, but I like him a little bit better. Nate, we kind of touched on this earlier in the week that, well, actually, we literally laid this out scenario. Bears wide receivers without Darnell Mooney versus Van Jefferson without Allen Robinson or Cooper Kupp. How do you feel about it now after having some time to think about it?
I still don't. I want Van Jefferson to pop off. I really want Van Jefferson to pop off. But with the quarterback situation, Bryce Perkins or John Wolford, I mean, it's not a great situation. I think Claypool has a chance to, with Mooney out, I think we're going to see a lot more Claypool in Chicago. So I probably am riding Claypool. Or at least carrying him as an option to see what happens.
Okay, fair enough. Herms, how do you feel about it? I'm with Nate. Like, I want to see it from Van Jefferson, but again, this is the Rams offense. Like, I can't get excited about the Rams offense right now.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel icky about the optimism I have for Kyren Williams. Even I wrote about it recently. I was just like, I hate the fact that I'm saying this, but that's pretty much my approach to the Rams at this point. Like, even in like waiver columns that I've written this year, like there's the free part of it, and then there's a part behind the paywall where I have like a huge list or whatever, and like position by position, and I've jokingly added no one from the Los Angeles Rams in like multiple categories on that list, just to really reiterate how much faith I don't have. And like, I too love Van Jefferson. I think in a more normal circumstance, even if they're just a slightly below average offense, I'd feel good about it. But this is such a weird circumstance that it's like, I'm not trying to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And to be honest, I actually did drop Chase Claypool in a couple leagues, but that was before the Mooney injury. Now that like, in a pre-Mooney injury world, I was just not interested in Claypool at all for the remainder of this year. But he's in a position where, like, I mean, they traded for him with the understanding he would get himself acclimated and still has that next year on his contract. It was definitely more of a move for the future anyway. But like, he has to step up and be really good immediately. So it's like, I mean, he doesn't have a choice. Like, the Bears are still out there trying their best, whereas the Rams, I mean, like, I'm sure
They're
if you
packing
ask,
it in.
yeah, they'll tell you they're trying their best.
Yeah, they're packing it in. Sean McVay's actually going to go spend some time with his wife and kids after not seeing him for the last 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
So here we have one from Adam, another one from Adam. Who should I start my flex this week? And in a vacuum, this sounds like a question that doesn't even need answered, but there is a conversation to have about this. Kareem Hunt plays the Texans, number 1 team, 4 running backs to play, so he could smash. Jeff Wilson goes against the 49ers. Raheem Mostert probably on track to play, but might not get a full workload. Former team, Jeff Wilson, just was over there in San Francisco. So revenge game narrative here. I normally don't want anything to do with Kareem Hunt, but it's at least intriguing against the Texans. Nate, which way do you run here? Are you taking Wilson in the revenge game?
I'm taking Wilson. Look, I get wanting to believe that Kareem Hunt's finally going to do something against his Texans defense, but he's not, because they're just Nick Chubb's going to have like 200 yards in this game. It's going to be ridiculous. And Jeff Wilson, the matchup doesn't look great on paper, but I don't care about that because Jeff Wilson is their RB1. Mostert's been dinged up. I'm pretty sure he's playing, but it doesn't matter. Jeff Wilson is going to tear it up in this game, and I am starting him everywhere I can, everywhere I've got him.
And Herms, this comes back to me, same thing we talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Miami has Super Bowl aspirations, and I think that includes Raheem Mostert. They need him healthy. They want a 1-2 combo going into the playoffs against some of these electric offenses like the Chiefs to keep the ball away from them. Do you think that they run out Mostert and it seeps up some of Wilson's value? Or are you still willing to roll him out over Kareem Hunt, who's been almost just like a bust this year, honestly?
Dude, I'm against the idea of people being too intrigued by the revenge game narrative and roll, because it is a dangerous matchup. Like, I would try to avoid playing any Dolphins running back at all costs this week, unless your alternative is Kareem Hunt, because I feel even worse about that. Like you said, dude, it's going back to my Scott Fishbowl team. Yeah. Talk about more things that my genius brain decided to. Oh my God, I felt so. I had him. I had Alvin Kamara. I thought this team was going to be so good. So just Kareem Hunt, another reminder of just what. Yeah, dude, it makes sense as to why people are going to be intrigued by this, especially because like we were saying, like the Texans are bad, but they don't have to involve Kareem Hunt at all to win this game. They haven't had to involve Kareem Hunt at all at any point this year, really. So, like, the only scenario in which Kareem Hunt is somebody that I feel super good about is, like, if you're in just, like, a deep league where that's the type of guy that you roll out in your lineup because that's what you do. And there are plenty of leagues like that, so, like, nothing wrong with that. But, like, if I'm assuming this is, like, even some sort of quote-unquote normal-ish 10, 12-team situation, you can do without Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Great question, though. Really great question from you, Adam.
Yeah.
I hope you're subscribed to the channel, man. Come back and hang out with us again. Here we got one from first we got we got one from Zachary. Jamal or Rachaad White? Ooh, very good question here. I think it's still Rachaad White. I kind of want that closer on Monday Night Football. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jamal Williams bag a couple more TDs here. Herms, we just talked up both these guys. Do you have a quick decision here from Zach?
Like I was saying before, I mean, like, it's been boring. It's been quiet, but the Jamal Williams top 12 season, I don't see it, derailing itself this week. So I'll go with the boring thing because he's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Nate, any digression from you?
Nope.
Okay. All right. We got Scheiden saying, I'm subscribing now. You guys are cool. We appreciate it, man. We can take some shit talk. So we appreciate you in here doing that. Here we have, let's see. We got Zachary, Tyrion David Price. Haven't heard that name in a while. Sorry, guys. Take me a minute. Jordan Mason or Tevin Coleman. Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
I'm going Jordan Mason here. I saw some quotes today from I believe it was Jimmy G, where he was talking about Jordan Mason. He's like, this dude is like the boom. He's the boom. When he hits you, it hurts. So the 1-2 combo this week is going to be CMC, but then they're going to use Mason as the power back. So,
okay.
I mean, Tevin Coleman, it's a little concerning. So they called him up from the practice squad or whatever. But still, I think if Jimmy G's talking up Jordan Mason, this is probably a guy they're going to use.
I would prefer, simple answer, I prefer none. But if we're getting this gross, if we really have to get this gross, it is Jordan Mason. He's been the healthiest, the most consistent one who's been there all season long. So I'm rolling with Mason as well, Nate. Good eye on that report. Herms, any digression from you?
No, same answer.
Okay. We hope, Zach, we hope you subscribe to the channel. We hope you have a good week, regardless if you have to play one of these San Francisco backup running backs. Here we got Buffalo Wild Wings, B-dubs in the chat, baby. How would you guys rank each of these rest of season? Tony, DPJ, OBJ. All right. We love it. 0.5 PPR for him as well. So Odell Beckham Jr., Donovan Peoples-Jones, Kadarius Toney. A lot of question marks here, guys. Tony, we don't know what the health of the hamstrings is going to be. Right. We're seeing more Sky Moore in his absence. Donovan Peoples-Jones, we've been harping on him for eight weeks now that we love him. But there is the unknown Deshaun Watson factor. Does that improve the offense? Does it not improve the offense? What's going to happen there? And then Odell Beckham Jr., guys, he's visiting with the Cowboys. He's visited with the Giants already. Had a little bit of a plane incident, but doesn't look like it's going to be something that keeps him from signing here. Herms, which way do you go? Because just rank these rest of the season for B-dubs here, if you could, please.
Well, I mean, I know the number one, and anybody who's ever, listened to my podcast, The Lateral Show, a sideways look at fantasy football, you will know how I feel about Donovan, the Peoples Jones. He is the Jones of the people, okay? Like, this man, pretty much the entire season, but, like, mostly since, like, week 4 or so. Like, it kind of fell off a little bit recently, but, like, otherwise, week, like, consistent. Like, if you're just looking for, like, hey, who's probably going to get me around 10 to 12 points? Donovan, the Peoples Jones. I'm here for it. Like, especially because he's the type of receiver that has done kind of well with Deshaun Watson in the past. So, I mean, like, I feel like that'll be a pretty natural pairing between the two of them. And then also because he's the healthiest of the other guys too. Like Tony, I was
he got us all.
Makes me so sad. Like I was so stoked about picking him up and stashing him on my bench in so many leagues, thinking like, wow, this is really gonna play. Nope, hadn't really worked out. So I'm a little annoyed about Donovan Peoples-Jones number 1. Odell Beckham Jr. number 2, because it's like, sure, he's not on a team, but at least as soon as he signs with the team, we know he's healthy. And then Tony at the bottom, because it's like, there's a realistic world in which Kadarius Toney is fully healthy, and he's the easy number 1 on this list. But his health is such an enigma that we're just never going to know. Like, we will never know.
It was like the year we wondered if Joe Mixon was missing a foot.
Yes.
Like he's out with a foot injury. Well, does he have one? Like, does Kadarius Toney even have a hamstring?
I'm concerned.
And he's hurt both of them. So, and I think my thing about OBJ too is like, I don't want to roster him rest of season. Like, I get the appeal, but like realistically, it is week 13. Next week is week 14. By the time he gets signs with the team, it's going to be week 14, if not week 15. Like, are you really going to want to play him in his first or second game out there? I think he goes to Dallas. I think it makes the most sense here. He's a big name player. They're a big name team. I think it just makes all the sense in the world for their playoff push. But I don't want to roll him out in my fantasy football playoffs, not seeing him with one of these quarterbacks, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's Dak Prescott here. I don't want to roster him. I'm not rostering Tony. So it's DPJ for me as well. Nate, any final thoughts on OBJ?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head of when are we going to see him at full capacity? Is it going to be before the fantasy playoffs are over? And plus, if he goes somewhere like Dallas, now he's the wide receiver 3. Realistically, New York, he's the wide receiver 1, maybe probably the wide receiver 2. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, I love the guy.
The Peoples-Jones.
The Peoples-Jones.
Zach is confirming here too that he's just rostering one of these guys in case CMC goes down. So that's absolutely fine. I'm glad that. Oh no, this is a question before there, Nate. Sorry. This was the question before about TDP, Jordan Mason, Tevin Coleman. He says, appreciate it, guys. Take my sub. We appreciate that. We will haven't ate lunch yet, so we will take that sub very, very graciously. Our friend Zach there. Here we have another one from Sheedon. Pick 2, Kamara, Dylan, Pickens, Devonta. He hates Kamara, by the way. I have to go with what Herm said earlier about Devonta Smith. I'm excited to play him against the Titans. Bad secondary, good up front. I think we're going to see a lot of him this week. I don't think you can sit Kamara, though. It's Monday night. Like, I want that closer on Monday night. This isn't the same Buccaneers defense as we once saw. Would you guys take Pickens or Dylan over Kamara right now?
I would not.
It sucks. Like, Kamara's been terrible, but, like, can you get away from him, Herms?
It's such a difficult choice for me because well established on the interwebs, big Steelers fan, but also Alvin Kamara is my favorite player in the NFL who's not on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's like I'm conflicted. I'm like, there's part of me that wants to tell you to play George Pickens against the Falcons because George Pickens is probably going to be really good against the Falcons. But like, for as weird as the Saints have been this year and for as frustrating as it's been rostering Kamara, the Saints are weirdly really good against the Buccaneers. You know, like, I know Sean Payton's not around anymore, but like Dennis Allen was still, on that coaching staff that put together these weirdly successful game plans against the Buccaneers. It's not just like a recent trend of like a year or two. It's like, for some reason, the Saints just have always had the Buccaneers number over the last several years. Like, it's odd. I can't really explain it, but it's true. So, like, I don't think I could justify, like, I'm going with Kamara. I'm doing it.
Well, hey, I'm with you, Herms. Like, the thing is, it's like, you want a floor. I think like, if you want ceiling, I think maybe there's a little more ceiling with Pickens, but Pickens has no floor. Like we've seen him drop donuts here. Reception totals for Kamara over the last 6 weeks, guys. 6 receptions, 4, 3, 3, 9, and 7. So he could have one of these games where he's just getting peppered in the middle of the field, which I think he's going to. I think we see the Bucs get up in this one. We see a little prevent defense at the end, and it's just Kamara running for 20-yard receptions at the end of this game. So I got to go Kamara and Devonta Smith here. Nate, any additional thoughts from you?
You guys said everything I was thinking.
Perfect. Okay. And then we have one here from Purple Cat. Yo, need a wide receiver 3 this week. Full PPR. Zay Jones, Deontay Johnson, Treylon Burks. Who are we starting and why?
Oh, this is easy.
Not Deontay Johnson.
Not Deontay Johnson. Like, I feel like I keep bringing this up. He hasn't finished higher than wide receiver 4 tier since week 3. And he's been as bad as wide receiver 5, 6. And it doesn't, just no. You've got to go with Burks and Jones here.
I think he wants one of them, and if he wants one of them, I am going with Zay Jones. We talked about it earlier. 14 targets last week. He's had double-digit targets in a lot of games. Trevor Lawrence is on fire. Lions secondary is toast. Treylon Burks has some appeal down the stretch, Herms, but I don't think I can get away from Zay Jones on this absolute burner he's playing, especially going up against the Eagles for Treylon Burks. He might draw some Darius Slay action in that as well.
And even if he doesn't, if Gardner Johnson's healthy, you don't want to see that. If he draws James Bradbury, you don't want to see that. Like, it's horrible no matter what. Like, that Eagles secondary is so, like, there's a reason that, like, it's I got the receipts locked in. My preseason NFC pick for the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles, because like that defense just terrified me so much that like shout out Burks and everything he's been able to do. Like, it's been a weird year for him, nursing a lot of injuries early on. Like, after this week, I feel pretty good about your ability to trust him, but against that type of matchup, like, dude, like, it's definitely got to be Zay Jones.
Yeah. Love the question. Zach saying, do you guys mind if I drop my team in the next best team and you tell me which one's better? Yeah, we can definitely do that, man. Go ahead and drop those. We'll quickly touch on that. I'm going to get into my Sure Thing Sleeper of the Week. As you do that, Zach, I'll round us out here with this. And guys, for the first time this year for my Sure Thing Sleeper of the Week, I'm going to go to the quarterback position. I was feeling a little diverse this week, wanted to tear it up. I'm going Jimmy Garoppolo versus the Miami Dolphins. And you can say what you want. Mike McDaniels is not a defensive mastermind, so I don't think he knows how to beat Kyle Shanahan. And again, this isn't the same 49ers team that Mike McDaniel knows and loves. CMC's there. Ayuk is become a really, really nice wide receiver. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid this year, egg on my face for that, but this is a really dynamic offense here. Dolphins have been a top 3 matchups for QBs this season and top 3 over the last month as well. So whatever way you want to cut that recently season long, QBs can get it done during the Dolphins. I think a lot of points are put up in this one as well. And also the QBs they faced over the last month, guys, have not been that good, and they're still allowing points. Kyle Allen, Jacoby Brissett, Justin Fields, Jared Goff. One of those games is Justin Fields' blow-up one, which I can understand. But still, Kyle Allen, Jacoby Brissett, and Jared Goff have kind of had their way with this defense as well. QB 11 on a points-per-game basis over the last 2 months for Jimmy G. That's most of the season. He's been a QB 1. His TD percentage is up to almost a career high, 5.3. And the biggest thing keeping him fantasy relevant, interception rate, career low, 1.3. So, like, if he can limit mistakes here and he can get a couple touchdowns, and he's going to with this wide receiver and tight end core, I love what he's done all season long. So I'm going Jimmy G here, guys, against Miami. I think he should be ranked as a top 12 play, but he's not.
Yeah, I love it. Miami's 3rd worst against the quarterback, which I think you said 20.6 points per week. And like you said, guys like Kyle Allen, Jared Goff are going off against him. And Jimmy G has a lot more weapons than some of these guys that have had bigger games. I think this is a great call.
Dude, look. So, I mean, I co-host a podcast with the world's biggest Jimmy Garoppolo stan. So we do talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, sure, people are a little kind of scared off in fantasy when it comes to, like, oh, well, he's just kind of a game manager. You know, it's like, you know, and like those types of options are kind of boring. But when you have a game manager that has a team with Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, sometimes a healthy Deebo Samuel, like, you can manage a pretty awesome, explosive game if you've got weapons like that, dude. Like, it's not even just this week for me. Like, it's been in recent weeks. It's this week. It's weeks into the future. For the rest of the fantasy season, I hope you picked up Jimmy Garoppolo and you just solved your streaming problem, quote unquote, because he should be in your lineup every single week with how just like dynamic this offense is.
Been very, I mean, the ceiling isn't there, but he's a lot in a world where you don't have a lot of floor plays at quarterback. He's a very good floor play. Here we have Mayan in the chat asking if he can ask a trade question. Absolutely, man. Put that in the chat. We'll get to that before we round out the show here. And as well, just to let you guys know, if you guys do have any questions ever for us, feel free. Our email is on our website, inbetweenmedia.com, along with a lot of columns and articles that can help you guys out. You can feel free to email us questions. You can feel free to hit us up on Twitter. Our handles are all in our picture here as well. And you can just comment on the videos as well, past videos, future videos, whatever. We're going to help you no matter what. So we appreciate the question though. Here we have one we do have Zach who asked about his 2 teams here. Is his team the best, or is it the next one that we like better? The first team is Dak, Eckler, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Kelsey, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett. So, wow, really, really good team there. Honestly, some stud wide receivers, loaded at tight end, a solid quarterback. Love Tyler Lockett there as a third wide receiver option as well. Not even to mention Keenan Allen. And then Burrow, Henry, Saquon, Devontae, CeeDee Lamb, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra, Jamal. Wow. So really some stud teams here, guys. Herms, I know I didn't give you a lot of time to digest this, but just kind of off the cusp here, what team do you think you like better? Full PPR.
The first thing that I thought off the dome was like, I mean, I know that they're, you know, but with there being no comma between CD and Hawkinson, I'm just imagining a hybrid player of CeeDee Lamb and TJ Hawkinson just as one person named CD. Like, now that would be a hell of a player, but yeah, no, I mean, like, it's pretty close, but I think I think I'd probably go with the second one, mostly because it's fairly even as you kind of go down the line with both, but like a big tiebreaker for me in my mind is Burrow instead of Dak. If I'm just comparing them 1-to-1, like that is where I think there is an edge. But then also, but then I say that, and then there's like Jamal Williams I would prefer over Tyler Lockett. So it's like, look,
this is close. These are both great
Yeah.
teams. This is a flex either way.
like I don't know if I have a very good answer, to be honest, because they're just both really good teams.
Yeah.
But I would probably lean a little bit more toward the team that has Joe Burrow at quarterback. But they are close. I don't think there's a wrong answer in this.
Yeah, I honestly don't even think I can pick because Justin Jefferson, Travis Kelce, Austin Eckler, those are like 3 of the top 6 players right now, I'd say, in fantasy this season. So that first team's absolutely loaded as well. You do have the question at quarterback of Dak. I think that's the big thing. If that is your team, the first team, I'm trying to improve over Dak somehow, maybe. Trying to find
Jimmy G.
Yeah, pick up Jimmy G. Like get him on the team as well. But man, if you had say like gun to the head, I'd probably take the first team. But I love the second one as well. Nate, you're on the first team?
I'm on the here's what tips it for me. You've got Eckler, RB1, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1, Travis Kelce, tight end 1. You have the top players at 3 positions. That is impressive. That is a solid team. And that's what I think that's what tips it for me. I love the Burrow, Henry, Saquon, Devontae. You got CD and Hawk. I just think that Dak team is it's loaded.
Yep, I absolutely agree there. Here we're going to bounce back over to Mayan's question about a trade. I believe this is Dynasty. Should I do DK and 101 for Jefferson? He said he also has Ayuk that he can maybe include instead of DK. So, wow, really good question here. I would love to know if this is a super flex league because I think that kind of changes what I want to do. So if you can let us know, Mayan, if this is a super flex league. Because right now, Bijan Robinson, Bijan is going to be the 101 pretty consensusly. Maybe we see something flip like how we did with CH landing in a really great spot and pushing JT down the board. But Herms, in a vacuum, let's assume this isn't okay. It is super flex. It is super flex here. So with super flex, so that changes the whole equation here because we're gonna have a good crop of young quarterbacks coming in here. Caleb Williams, possibly Bryce Young. You name it, man. A really good class of QBs. Can you trade that much for Jefferson? I love Jefferson. I love him too. He's my guy.
Yeah, dude. Like my issue with it is like if you have the 101 and that is your pick, you know what I mean? Like if it's not a pick that like you inherited from elsewhere, like if that does belong to you, like Jefferson's probably not going to fix your problem, like
right.
I would much rather, and like the pick between, like I also really like CJ Stroud, like that could be like,
oh my God. Yeah.
I don't know.
He's a monster.
I don't know who people are going to pick between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud when we get to that time of year and everybody argues. I'm pro Stroud. So like that's but
same.
Like if one of those 2 quarterbacks or Bijan Robinson and having, oh wait, here we go. Okay,
he said not his pick. He trade. Wow, great trade.
Well.
Yeah,
and he said he is tied for first in the league, so he's looking for a title right now.
Go get Justin Jefferson. That changes. And it changes how I felt about this.
Is is he?
He's already if he's
Jefferson, but is he that much of a difference for compared to DK or Ayuk?
Wide receiver 2 versus wide receiver 18. Wide receiver 2 versus wide receiver 17. So yes, I do.
Okay.
If you're going for a championship and you've already got a first round pick in your pocket and you have one to move, though I would say try and move the lower pick if you can. But still, like I like this trade. I think it makes your team better. And if you're going for the playoffs, Justin Jefferson's going to be wide receiver 1 tier almost every week.
Herms, is there anything you would maybe like want to get back with Jefferson that like still giving him DK or Ayuk and that 101? Is there anything like a sweetener you can maybe get back that would make you feel better about it? Or are you okay as is?
I mean, this is one of those things where like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, but it would be cool if you could add Bijan to this team. Oh gosh, it would be so cool. But then it's also like the title hangs in the rafters forever. You know what I mean? Sometimes like you have to strike while the iron is hot. like, would it be cool to possibly add something to it? Like, sure, it would, but like in a vacuum, if you are giving up a pretty good wide receiver and the first overall pick, but you get Justin Jefferson and probably a title in return.
Yeah, exactly.
Just take the title.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
This is a great question. I mean, guys, we've gotten so many great questions. Mayan, we greatly appreciate this question, man. We hope you subscribe to the channel, come back and hang out with us again. Zach saying take Jefferson and run. So he's in agreement with you guys as well. He says, thanks, guys. I made sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate that, man. Seriously, this has been such a blast of an episode. So many new faces in the chat, so many familiar faces in the chat. Nate, I'm glad we get to do this every Friday. This is the In Between Fantasy Football podcast. We have a ton of content here. If you guys are new to our channel here on the YouTube as well, over at our site, we combine feel-good lifestyle advice with our fantasy sports advice. So we can help you whether you want to read your content, whether you want to watch it, listen it. Nate and I will be back on Tuesday nights. We have our Tuesday night shows. We talk waivers. We play a little bit of fun mini games as well. So we'll be doing that. And then on Fridays, Nate and I are here with a slew of great guests every week. Herms, thank you so much for hanging around with us, man. I know you've been on with us for about an hour, and we can't appreciate that enough, man.
100%. Dude, I am always glad to join in the in-between media fun. It is always a good time. Also, yeah, my first ever appearance on anything.
There we go.
The in-between media holiday show 2020. All right.
Yes,
like, look,
sir.
Hey, you have to make your debut somewhere, folks. This is it's a natural, it's a nice little cozy corner that I get to hang out in.
Hey, well, we appreciate that, guys. Like I said, if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, you enjoy this type of content, the good vibes, the good fantasy football advice. We also have NASCAR once that comes back, PGA, and a whole lot of betting advice in between, guys. Thank you so much, guys. We will be back on Tuesday night. Until then, keep it in between. Thank you. Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.